I am officially, fundamentally, and just irrevocably traumatized. Like, I am drafting an invoice right now.
Oh, I would be saying that via certified mail, honestly.
Literally.
Yeah.
I am billing the producers for emotional damages, for visual trauma, and honestly, just for the sheer, unadulterated auditory assault of having to listen to Islanders violently suck toes on national television.
The sound mixing alone was a literal war crime. I mean, it really was.
It was disgusting. I need a scalding shower. I need industrial-grade holy water. Like, I need to bleach my retinas. But before I spiral completely, babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and babes, we hope you've had an amazing week so far.
I mean, amazing is a wildly optimistic word to use after witnessing the absolute biohazard that was just broadcast into our living rooms.
True. Very true.
Like, I am forever changed, and not in a way that suggests personal growth, you know? These psychological and physical lengths that human beings will go to for a cash prize and a fast fashion contract are just staggering.
We are witnessing the breakdown of society.
We truly are. It's the collapse of societal norms.
It is absolute chaos, and honestly, I am entirely unapologetically here for it. So, to the Snark Squad listening right now, I need you to know the rosé wine is on deck, the glasses are filled to the absolute brim, and babes, today you are here for the vibes.
Strictly chaotic vibes.
Strictly, we are leaning entirely into the chaos, we are embracing the mess, and we are not apologizing for it.
Well, it is genuinely the only logical way to survive the midweek slump. Like, let's step back and be analytical about this for a second. The cultural significance of rosé is actually fascinating.
Oh, here we go, the science of wine.
No, seriously. Have you ever wondered why, the absolute moment Tuesday ends, society collectively and silently decides that slightly pink, heavily chilled wine is the only acceptable coping mechanism?
Because it's delicious.
I mean, yes, but it's not just a beverage. It's a psychological reset button.
It is the ultimate survival juice. It is literal summer in a glass. Like, think about it. It's the one single beverage that communicates two very conflicting ideas at the exact same time. Well, it says, I am a functioning adult handling my professional responsibilities, paying my taxes, and watering my plants. But simultaneously, it screams, I am one minor inconvenience away from abandoning my entire life, faking my own death, and booking a one-way ticket to Mykonos.
That is an incredibly accurate psychological assessment.
Right. Plus, holding a stemmed glass just automatically, scientifically elevates your glamour. I'm sitting here right now in sweatpants that have, frankly, seen better days.
You've seen a lot of days.
Hey, but like, my hair is in a messy bun that defies the laws of physics, but holding this chilled glass of rosé, it makes me feel like a wealthy divorcee in the Hamptons plotting my third husband's demise.
See, what you're experiencing is the placebo effect of luxury glassware. It's a well-documented phenomenon. You put tap water in a heavy crystal-stemmed glass, and suddenly you feel sophisticated.
Exactly. It changes everything.
The physical posture required to hold a wine stem actually changes your body language. It forces a slight elevation of the chin, a delicate placement of the fingers. It mimics aristocratic leisure.
Aristocratic leisure. I love that.
But let's be very clear about the specific aesthetic we are aggressively embodying tonight. It is the highly specialized wine mom / reality TV addict persona. We are fully embracing it. The days are long, the reality TV is wonderfully trashy, and the rosé is not just suggested, it is mandatory.
Mandatory, non-negotiable. So to you listening right now, wherever you are, pour yourself a glass, grab whatever snack brings you comfort, because by the time you hear this, it will be Wednesday. Babes, happy midweek.
Happy midweek indeed. And, you know, since we have crossed the threshold into Wednesday, it is time for our weekly clinic check-in. The rose and thorn of the dental world.
Oh, God. Yes.
Because before we judge the absolute delusion of reality television stars, we must first confront the delusion of the general public. I will start with my thorn because the psychological denial I witnessed today is actively haunting my waking hours.
Please hit me. What fresh, sterile horror did you experience at the clinic today? Because I know the general public is unhinged, but dental patients are just a special breed of chaotic.
They really are. So let me set the scene. I had a patient in the chair today for a routine exam. I lean back the chair, adjust the light, and look into their mouth.
Okay, standard.
Their gums are inflamed to the absolute heavens. The gingival tissue is actively bleeding just from the initial visual inspection. It is a periodontal disaster.
Oh, no. I can picture it.
And this patient looks me dead in the eyes with unblinking confidence and states, I floss twice a day, every day.
The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated, bold-faced delusion of that statement.
Right.
It is sociopathic to look a medical professional in the eye and lie about something they are literally currently staring at.
It is the physiological equivalent of standing in a burning building, surrounded by flames, and calmly telling the fire chief that you checked the smoke alarms this morning. Your tissue is actively protesting.
Like, who do they think they're fooling?
It's a fascinating psychological defense mechanism known as social desirability bias. Patients want to be perceived as good and compliant by authority figures, even when the physical evidence directly contradicts them. The panoramic x-rays do not lie. You cannot gaslight an x-ray.
You really can't.
And then, to elevate my blood pressure even further, my next patient decided it was the perfect time to have a full, deeply philosophical conversation with me about the macroeconomic impacts of inflation.
Wait, while you were working on them?
Well, I had a dental dam fully deployed and clamped in their mouth.
Oh, good.
They are trying to articulate complex economic theories about interest rates while their oral cavity is completely isolated by a sheet of latex.
That is my absolute nightmare. It sounds like they are gargling a mouthful of wet marbles. What do you even do in that situation? You just have to do the slow nod and say, definitely, wow, crazy times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You resort to aggressive, rhythmic nodding while trying to maintain subjunctival isolation on a second molar. You become a captive audience to latex-muffled political commentary. It was an exhausting display of boundary crossing.
I would have lost my mind.
What was your rose? Please tell me you have some fragment of joy to balance out this clinical misery.
I actually do. It's unexpected, it's emotional, and it honestly restored a tiny fraction of my faith in humanity. So I had this older patient come in. She is an absolute sweetheart, always a little nervous, but very kind.
Okay, I love her already.
She comes in for her routine 6-month cleaning. Out of nowhere, before she even sits in the chair, she hands me a Tupperware container. Inside is a very specific, incredibly traditional Polish plum cake.
A baked good in a dental office. That's a bold crossover.
But here's why it's amazing. 6 entire months ago, during her last cleaning, we were making small talk, and I casually mentioned in passing that my grandmother used to make this specific Polish plum cake when I was a little girl. I hadn't thought about it since.
Wait, really?
Yes. This woman remembered a throwaway comment from half a year ago, tracked down a recipe, and baked it for me.
Okay, if we look past the high sugar content contributing to the very decay we treat, that is actually incredibly sweet. It shows a profound level of active listening.
Right. It is the emotional labor and the thoughtfulness. I almost started crying right there in my scrubs. I had to blink back tears before putting my loops on. It just goes to show that sometimes connection is real.
That is rare.
And then the absolute cherry on top of the entire day, my 3 p.m. and my 4 p.m. appointments both called to cancel, back-to-back cancellations.
The holy grail of the clinical schedule, the unexpected, spontaneous 2-hour window of freedom. It is rarer than a unicorn.
I stripped off my PPE and ran to get an iced coffee so fast I practically left a cartoon dust trail in the hallway. It was pure, unadulterated, caffeinated joy. I sat in my car, in silence, sipping cold brew, feeling like I had won the lottery.
As you should.
But, unfortunately, my friend, that is exactly where the joy in my life abruptly ends. Because as much as I want to believe in the romance of a Polish plum cake, it's time for an update on our online dating adventures.
Using the word adventure implies a fun, voluntary journey with a rewarding destination. What we are currently experiencing is a forced psychological march through a barren emotional wasteland. It is an endurance test.
It is tragic. We have been back on the dating apps for exactly 3 weeks, and morale is absolutely in the trenches. It is subterranean. Dating in 2026 is an unmitigated disaster.
It really is.
Every single time I open Hinge or Bumble, it feels like I am discovering a new, highly creative way to be deeply disappointed by the male species.
Let's analytically break down the dating landscape, because the gamification of romance has fundamentally broken human interaction. The apps use variable ratio reinforcement schedules, the exact same psychological mechanisms used in casino slot machines, to keep us swiping.
And it works. We keep swiping.
But the quality of the matches is deteriorating rapidly. Let me share an instant red flag I encountered just 48 hours ago. I matched with a guy. Analytically speaking, his profile was within standard parameters.
Okay, standard is good.
He had a nice smile, a seemingly stable corporate job, and he owned a dog. I decided to initiate. I sent a casual, low-stakes opening message. Cute dog, what's his name? Basic, safe, non-threatening.
That is the standard protocol. You ask about the pet to establish baseline normalcy before transitioning to actual conversation.
Exactly. His response: I received a 4-paragraph essay, and I do not use the word essay lightly.
Oh my God, No.
He detailed with alarming specificity his deeply unresolved trauma regarding his mother's emotional unavailability during his formative years, how that led to an anxious attachment style in his adult relationships, and how his golden retriever is the only biological entity on Earth that has never abandoned him.
Stop it right now. I am physically cringing in the very first opening message.
In response to what's his name, paragraph 4 concluded with the transition. Anyway, what are you looking for on here?
Oh my God.
Sir, you are not looking for a Tuesday night date at a dimly lit wine bar. You are looking for a licensed, out-of-network clinical therapist. The absolute staggering lack of boundaries is a symptom of a much larger societal issue.
People are so broken.
They are confusing parasocial intimacy, dumping your deepest trauma onto a pixelated stranger on an app with actual vulnerability. I didn't even apply. I unmatched immediately. I'm not equipped to be a trauma sponge.
It's exhausting. It's like everyone is just walking around with these gaping emotional wounds, hoping a stranger on the internet has the right kind of Band-Aid. But, like, at least you got the real terrifying version of him right away. You didn't waste a Thursday night on him.
True. Did you waste a Thursday night?
Yeah. My horror story this week is a classic trope, but with a highly modern twist. I matched with this guy. His photos were gorgeous. He looked outdoorsy, rugged, holding a surfboard, looking maybe 32, 33 years old. We had decent banter, so we agreed to meet up for a quick afternoon coffee.
Oh no, I can already hear the impending doom in your tone. The quick coffee is the ultimate defensive dating strategy.
I walk into the coffee shop, and I'm looking around for the rugged surfer. A completely different biological species walked up to me.
The different species.
The photos he used on his profile had to be at least a decade old, maybe 15 years old. The man sitting across from me was easily pushing 50. He had zero ruggedness, zero surfboard energy, and he spent the entire 45-minute date complaining about his gout.
Yeah, medically speaking, gout is an incredibly painful inflammatory arthritis. The uric acid crystal buildup in the joints is agonizing.
I don't care about the crystals.
But romantically speaking, sociologically, it is not exactly the aphrodisiac you deploy during first date banter over a macchiato.
Exactly. I am trying to sip my oat milk latte and flirt, and he is giving me a detailed medical history of his big toe. It was a catfish of the highest order. Why do men do this? Do they think we won't notice the 15-year chronological gap when we meet in person?
It's rooted in the paradox of choice.
Yeah.
They know the algorithm penalizes age and average looks, so they manipulate the data, their photos, to get their foot in the door.
But I have eyes. I can see him.
They operate under the delusion of the halo effect, believing that once you are captivated by their physical presence, you will forgive the initial deception. It is wildly narcissistic.
It is exhausting. Honestly, I am sitting here looking at this glass of rosé, and I am so close to abandoning the apps entirely. I am ready to fully commit to the alternative plan.
Which is?
Manifesting a sugar daddy.
Oh, here we go.
I am profoundly tired of trying to build an organic emotional connection in a digital landscape that rewards deception. I just want someone to fund my expensive skincare habit, pay for my Sephora hauls, and let me live in peace.
See, this is where we fundamentally diverge in our worldviews. You say you want a sugar daddy, but you absolutely do not mean it. You are secretly, deep down, a hopeless romantic.
I'm not.
You are. You want the sweeping cinematic declarations. You want the genuine connection, the butterflies in the stomach, the dramatic airport reunion. You want the fairy tale. You are just using the concept of a sugar daddy as a comedic defense mechanism against your current disappointment.
Well, yeah, I do want love. I am not a monster. I want the romance of a real, genuine connection. I want to be reaching for the exact same obscure thriller novel at a local, independent bookstore. Our hands accidentally brush, our eyes lock, the world slows down. I want them to meet cute.
Exactly my point.
But honestly, if the universe isn't going to give me the bookstore meet cute, I will happily settle for a fully funded lifestyle and financial stability.
Let's strip away the romance and be pragmatic here. Yeah. Financial stability is a legitimate love language in this hyper-inflated economy. I am the cutthroat pragmatist of this duo, and I will gladly defend the sugar daddy business model.
Oh, okay. Leaning in.
Romance is a fleeting neurochemical illusion. It's an evolutionary mechanism designed purely to ensure the continuation of the species through a brief window of infatuation.
You are so cynical.
A sugar daddy, however, is a solid, quantifiable financial strategy. A fully funded 401k, a diversified stock portfolio, and someone to pay the rent on a penthouse apartment. That is eternal. If a wealthy older man wants to buy my presence at a Michelin-star dinner and asks for nothing but intellectually stimulating conversation, I am absolutely accepting applications. Why pretend otherwise?
Because love is real. It's not just a neurochemical trick to keep the species alive. It's the entire point of the human experience.
We can debate the socioeconomic utility of transactional relationships versus the myth of romantic love all night. But honestly, if there is anything that makes our disastrous dating lives look successful, sane, and highly functional, it is the absolute unmitigated horrors unfolding right now on Love Island.
You are so right. As bad as my gout-ridden catfish was, at least I didn't have to watch him participate in a televised freak-off. So grab your glass because we are jumping straight into the Casa Amor recap.
The temperature's rising challenge.
Yes! This was Casa Amor versus the main villa, and it was, I don't even have the vocabulary for how filthy this was. It was a masterclass in chaotic desperation.
It wasn't just desperate. It was a literal biohazard. Let's look at the actual mechanics of this challenge. To understand the psychology of the Islanders, you have to look at the environment the producers created.
It was evil.
The categories they were forced to perform were lick, kiss, tickle, dance, suck, nibble, and freestyle. Just reading that list out loud in a professional setting makes me want to contact the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It was designed to completely obliterate any remaining physical boundaries.
I was watching the screen from between my fingers. I was physically recoiling on my couch. The villa girls were moving like they had rent due at midnight, and their landlord was standing in the living room. They were so aggressive.
Unbelievably aggressive.
It honestly reminded me of the psychology of a breakup. You know when a scorned ex posts an overly hot, slightly unhinged, heavily filtered Instagram story on a Friday night?
Oh, the revenge post?
Exactly. They don't even want to be out at the club, but they are doing it purely to prove to the invisible audience of their ex that they are winning the breakup. That is exactly what the Villa girls were doing. They were overcompensating so hard because they were paralyzed by insecurity about what their boys were doing over in Casa Amor.
That is a brilliant analogy. It is purely performative sexuality. It had absolutely nothing to do with genuine attraction to the new bombshells they were paired with. The new men were merely props.
Total prop.
A performative display of dominance aimed at an audience, the men in the other villa who couldn't even see them. It's fascinating cognitive dissonance. And speaking of treating people like props, we absolutely have to discuss Kenzie during the nibble category.
Oh my God. Kenzie and Dylan, I will never unsee it.
The prompt on the card was nibble. Let's define that word. It implies a delicate action, small bites, a playful, perhaps slightly sensual teasing. What does Kenzie do when faced with the word nibble?
She launches herself.
She backs up, launches her entire body weight into the air, and does full mid-air gymnastics, ending in a violent, high-impact split directly over Dylan's lap.
She thought she was giving Cirque du Soleil. She thought she was delivering a groundbreaking avant-garde, impossibly sexy performance, but it just looked terrifying. Like, girl, he is supposed to nibble your neck or your earlobe, not perform a sudden high-velocity orthopedic exam.
It highlights a complete, staggering lack of self-awareness. She equates extreme physical exertion with sex appeal. It is the same girl who sits in the confessional talking completely seriously about how her aura is getting stronger. And earlier in the episode, she refers to her own anatomy as sugar and spice, while casually discussing nursing school patient intake forms.
It's so weird.
It is a baffling, contradictory combination of personality traits that makes her fundamentally unpredictable.
And then, the true horror of the challenge, the toe-sucking epidemic. Why is everyone on this specific season so obsessed with toes? Is it a generational thing? Is it a cry for help?
It's deeply alarming.
Trinity was actively, aggressively sucking Ronnie's toes because she looked at the thermometer and realized they were losing the round to Casa Amor, and Bryce, over in Casa, escalated it even further. He didn't just suck a toe. He put his entire hand, all 5 adult fingers, into Sydney's mouth.
As a healthcare professional, watching that sent me into a minor panic attack. From a purely hygienic standpoint, the bacterial transfer is catastrophic.
I want to gag.
Think about the microbiology of that environment. You are taking digits that have been walking barefoot, sweating, around a communal villa pool area, stepping where dozens of other people have stepped, and you are aggressively inserting those contaminated digits into a warm, porous mucous membrane. It is reckless. It is how plagues start. Even Trinity, in a rare moment of post-challenge clarity, literally quoted in her confessional that she felt the immediate need to wash her face, mouth, tongue, and butt after the challenge was over. She recognized the contamination. She knew she had crossed a line against nature.
I was screaming at my television. And the most frustrating part of the entire spectacle is that it was entirely manipulated. It was manufactured chaos. The producers clearly orchestrated the score to end in a 3-3 tie just to force the freestyle tiebreaker round.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. The thermometers lighting up on the prop wall are completely arbitrary. They're controlled by a producer in a booth holding an iPad. It was meticulously designed to end in a tie, to push these sleep-deprived, insecure people over the absolute edge.
And it worked.
And the freestyle round did exactly what it was engineered to do.
Here.
It devolved into a literal villa-wide orgy. You had Melanie completely abandoning the premise of the challenge, just making out with the other girls on the grass. You had Caleb somehow locked in a chaotic three-way kiss. It was the total collapse of social order.
It absolutely proved that the Villa girls were willing to play the game and play it hard. But you know who was playing an entirely different, much darker, much more manipulative game? Sincere.
Oh, Sincere. We need to dedicate a significant analytical portion of our time to unpacking the psychology of Sincere, because what he is doing right now at Casa Amor with Amora is a masterclass in pseudo-intellectual manipulation. It is narcissistic mirroring disguised as deep spiritual connection.
His vocabulary crimes alone should be a jailable offense. Like, I want him arrested for assault on the English language.
Let's clinically tear this apart. Sincere's entire strategy is based on lowering Amora's defenses. He correctly assesses that she wants a man with depth, a man who is different from the typical reality TV gym bro.
So he pretends to be a poet.
So he tries to sound deep and emotionally intelligent. He adopts a hushed, serious tone. But he fundamentally, entirely does not know the definitions or the pronunciations of the words he is using. He looked Amora dead in the eye, trying to deliver a profound compliment about her beauty, and pronounced the word epitome as epitome.
I paused the show. I had to physically stand up from my couch and walk away. Epitome. It sounded like a medical textbook for skin diseases.
And he didn't stop there. He then confidently claims, while staring soulfully into her eyes, that he wants to emerge himself in the Casa Amor experience. Not immerse. Emerge.
He doesn't know what words mean.
He is weaponizing a thesaurus that he clearly hasn't bothered to read. It's a classic manipulation tactic. Use large, multisyllabic words to create a facade of intellectual depth, making the other person feel like they're connecting with a complex, misunderstood philosopher. It is the Dunning-Kruger effect utilized for romantic game. He is so confident in his mispronunciation that it creates a reality distortion field around Amora.
And Amora is fully falling for it. It makes me so emotional and so angry because she's drinking the Kool-Aid by the gallon. The moment they were lying on the daybed outside and she saw a butterfly fluttering around in the pitch dark, she literally turned to the camera and called it a sign from God that she was meant to be with Sincere. She thought the universe was confirming this soulmate connection.
My friend, we have to inject some basic entomology into this discussion. That was a moth.
I know.
You are romanticizing a moth. Butterflies are diurnal creatures. They operate during the day. They're not flying around the Casa Amor fire pit at midnight. It was a moth, an insect driven by simple phototaxes drawn to the artificial light bulb on the decking.
It's just so sad to watch.
And the psychological delusion is so strong, her desire for this connection to be real is so intense that she reframed a common household pest into divine intervention. This is how deeply, dangerously effective Sincere's fake deep act is working on her psyche. She's actively altering reality to fit the narrative he is selling.
It is terrifying to watch because meanwhile, back at the main villa, Melanie, who Sincere is supposedly committed to, is finally starting to see the light. The fog of his manipulation is lifting, and surprisingly, it is all thanks to a targeted intervention from the other boys.
Which presents a fascinating study in male group dynamics and competitive strategy. You have Corey and Ronnie actively executing a tactic known as dirty macking.
Explain that for the babes at home.
For the uninitiated listener, dirty macking is when a man actively talks down about another man, highlighting his flaws or disloyalty, specifically to advance his own romantic position with that man's partner. They are actively dirty macking Sincere in order to save Melanie from him, but also to win her for themselves.
And honestly, we love to see it. I was cheering. Corey sat Melanie down, looked her in the eyes, and flat out told her that Sincere isn't honest. But more importantly, he used the smartest line I've ever heard on this show. He told Melanie that Sincere cannot handle a dominant, powerful woman like her.
It is the absolute perfect psychological hook. If you want to pull a strong, independent woman away from a toxic partner, you don't just say he's bad. You tell her that her current partner is too weak for her power. You reframe her staying with him as a dimming of her own light.
Wow, that's actually brilliant.
And simultaneously, Corey positions himself as the secure, confident alpha male who can handle her dominance without his ego crumbling. It is brilliant, calculated strategy by Corey. Although, as much as Corey succeeded, we do need to address Ronnie's attempt at the same strategy.
Oh, Ronnie. I have such a soft spot for him. He has that incredible 90s fine aesthetic. He really is giving young Jalen Hurts. He has that classic, undeniable, quiet swagger that you just cannot manufacture.
He absolutely does have the swagger. The aesthetic halo effect is working overtime for him.
Huh.
But we are journalists of reality television, and we must acknowledge the dead tooth.
Oh, no, please don't.
I have to. The villa lighting hit it at exactly the wrong angle during his chat with Melanie, and the entire viewing public saw it. It's a dental tragedy, an absolute necrotic nightmare, but incredibly, his overall aesthetic is still strong enough to somewhat overcome it.
Dead tooth or not, I am celebrating the fact that Melanie is finally hearing the truth. The facade is cracking. But this brings us to the biggest debate of the episode. When the recoupling happens, will Melanie actually bring Corey back? I desperately, with my whole heart, hope she stands her ground, brings Corey back, and leaves Sincere standing alone by the fire pit, looking completely foolish with his epitome nonsense.
I will take the pragmatic, slightly pessimistic side here. Let's look at behavioral patterns. She is going to fold.
You really think so?
She is absolutely going to go right back to Sincere. Yes, she is listening to Corey. Yes, she is currently sharing a bed with Corey to test the connection. But her ego is deeply bruised by the mere idea of Sincere moving on with the Casa girl. The sunk cost fallacy is setting in. The sunk cost fallacy is the worst.
She has invested time and tears into Sincere, and she wants to prove to herself and to the audience that she can win him back. She will use Corey to level the playing field, to make Sincere sweat and realize what he almost lost. But when the moment comes to make a definitive choice, she will not actually couple up with Corey. She will return to the familiar toxicity.
I absolutely refuse to believe she is that weak. She literally looked into the camera and said she is terrified of looking stupid on national television getting played again. She knows his history. She knows he lies. She has the data. Knowing the historical data and fundamentally changing your behavioral patterns in a moment of high-stress vulnerability are two vastly different things. Humans rarely choose the logical path when ego and fear of abandonment are involved. But speaking of men entirely driven by their own fragile, easily bruised egos, we must pivot to the absolute menace that is Casey.
I am still physically recovering from his disastrous, bumbling handling of Sydney, Tiara, or Titi as we call her, and Anaya. It was a masterclass in how not to treat women. But before we even get to the emotional damage, let's start with the visual damage, the fashion, and then that horrific bedroom confession.
Analytically speaking, from a purely sartorial standpoint, Casey is a walking red flag, clothed in thick, ribbed white gym socks, scuffed penny loafers, and high-water pants that expose entirely too much ankle.
The ankles were everywhere.
It's not a style choice. It's a stylistic cry for help. It signals a man who is trying to emulate a specific type of old-money confidence, but completely lacks the self-awareness to pull it off.
It's giving 1950s milkman. It's giving, I got dressed in the dark. And then, wearing this atrocity of an outfit, he pulls Sydney for a private chat on the terrace. And he admits, proudly might I add with a smirk on his face, that he is very vanilla in the bedroom. He declares he doesn't use toys, and the crowning jewel of his confession, he likes to control the tempo while watching Family Guy on the television.
I want us to pause and truly visualize the biomechanics of that statement.
No, I refuse.
We have to. The concept of engaging in physical intimacy while the shrill, animated voice of Peter Griffin is echoing through the room is a psychological concept I refuse to deeply entertain. It is an effective method of total dissociation. If you require a fast-paced, brightly colored cartoon comedy to maintain a rhythm during intimacy, you are actively avoiding the vulnerability of human connection. You are using media consumption to mask emotional unavailability.
Babes, if a man invites me over, we get into bed, and he reaches for the remote to turn on Family Guy, I am not just leaving. I am calling the police. It is a crime against romance. It is objectively the least sexy string of words a human being has ever uttered on a television broadcast.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we have to look past the Family Guy horror and unpack the deeper psychology of Casey's behavior in Casa Amor, because it is entirely 100% ego-driven. His entire motivation right now stems from a deep, festering well of resentment.
Over Anaya.
Listen to his dialogue. He is constantly obsessively bringing up the fact that Anaya did not step forward to pick him on day one. We are currently in week 4 of this social experiment, and he is still actively holding a grudge from the first 20 minutes of the show. It is a textbook narcissistic injury.
I have to defend Anaya here. The narrative he is spinning is completely unfair. Yes, they were coupled up by default initially because no one stepped forward, but she actively recoupled with him later. She wrote him a heartfelt, vulnerable love letter. They built what looked like a genuine, sweet connection over weeks. Casey is entirely ignoring all of that validated effort just because his ego is still bruised from the initial rejection.
Exactly. He has rewritten history to frame himself as the victim. And now he is absolutely loving the Casa Amor girls, specifically TD and Sydney, because they are actively, aggressively pursuing him. They are throwing themselves at him, and it is stroking his fractured ego. He explicitly stated in the beach hut that his stock is going up, treating his romantic viability like a volatile cryptocurrency.
It's so gross.
He wants the villa girls to watch him being desired. Let's be clear. His primary goal in Casa Amor isn't to find a better romantic connection. It's to humiliate Anaya, to avenge his day one slight. It's a revenge coupling.
It is so incredibly toxic. And look at the massive collateral mess he made between TD and Sydney in the process. He's leading both of them on. He promises his bed to Sydney for the night, essentially verbally claiming her. Tiara spirals into tears, and rightfully so, because Casey had spent the entire previous day making her feel like they had a unique connection.
And pay close attention to Casey's response to Tiara's spiral. It is classic, textbook, people-pleasing cowardice. He panics not because he feels empathy for her pain, but because someone is upset with him, and it ruins his narrative of being the good guy. He shares the bed with Sydney, kisses her, realizes there is zero actual chemistry, partly because Sydney didn't aggressively cuddle him and stroke his fragile ego all night like he expected. And what does he do?
He runs away.
He immediately runs back to Tiara the very next morning to say he made a mistake. He is fundamentally incapable of making a firm adult decision if it means someone might be mad at him. He uses women to regulate his own self-esteem.
It is genuinely exhausting to watch him operate. But while Casey and Sincere are acting like absolute terrors, wreaking havoc on everyone's mental health, we have to talk about the Islanders dealing with actual, genuine, chest-crushing heartbreak. The Brennedy situation. Trinity and Bryce. This broke me.
This is where the sociological and cultural aspect of reality television gets very real, very fast. It drops the superficial drama and hits on deep-seated societal issues.
I got genuinely, unexpectedly emotional watching Trinity's vulnerability. She is sitting on the beanbags with the other girls, breaking down in tears over her fear of dating a white man on national television. She is terrified that Bryce is going to go into Casa Amor, look at a room full of new women, and just default to a white woman who fits his usual type.
It's a very real fear.
It is such a real, visceral, heartbreaking fear of not measuring up to a societal standard of beauty that you simply do not fit into. It's the anxiety of feeling like an exception to someone's rule, rather than the rule itself.
It's a deeply ingrained anxiety, built upon decades of conditioning and, frankly, historical data from how reality dating shows typically operate regarding women of color. It was incredibly brave and important that the producers chose to air that raw conversation. But what's fascinating here from an analytical perspective is the stark, almost comedic contrast between Trinity's spiraling anxiety and Bryce's actual physical behavior over in Casa Amor.
Right, because Bryce is doing absolutely nothing. He is practically a piece of furniture.
He is essentially operating as a celibate monk in Casa Amor. He is rejecting chats with beautiful women. He's staring longingly off the second-story balconies toward the main villa like a Victorian widow waiting for a ship to return. He is actively pouting.
He really is.
He pulled Teddy for a chat just to explicitly tell her that he isn't exploring any connections because his mind is entirely 100% focused on Trinity. The dramatic irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. Bryce is being the absolute picture of loyalty and devotion, while Trinity, driven entirely by her own internalized anxiety and preemptive guilt, is actively making out with Corey in the neon photo booth.
She is spiraling with guilt over kissing Corey, convinced she ruined everything, while Bryce is acting like a grieving widower. It's a Shakespearean tragicomedy of errors. The lack of communication is destroying them. But I need them to reunite. I need Bryce to walk back in alone. I need Trinity to be standing there alone. And I need them to realize they survived the test. They are my absolute endgame right now. I will go down with this ship.
We shall see if they survive the recoupling. But we also have some B-plots happening amidst the main emotional trauma. Let's quickly dispense some snark on the Corbin and Parmita situation.
Oh, the fake shock. I couldn't handle it. Oh my gosh. What are you doing here in Fiji?
The performative surprise was deeply insulting to the intelligence of the viewing audience. We know, and the internet knows, that they literally DM'd each other about working out together in Miami weeks before the show even started filming. They were acting like they just serendipitously bumped into each other in a remote, undiscovered village in the Himalayas. The entire interaction was premeditated networking.
So fake.
And the real tragedy is poor Caleb, sidelined once again because Corbin swooped in with his pre-planned storyline.
Justice for Caleb. He is just a nice elevator engineer trying to find a nice girl to take home to his mother.
Right.
He keeps getting his girls stolen by louder, more obnoxious men who know how to play the cameras. But the real annoyance for me right now, the guy who is grating on my last nerve, is Zach.
Let's analyze Zach's profound hypocrisy because it is staggering.
He is constantly, endlessly whining about missing Kaida. Every conversation he has, he brings her up. Oh, I miss Kaida. I wonder what Kaida is doing. But meanwhile, while he is whining, he is aggressively making out with Alana, the Casa girl. The entire internet has collectively dubbed the racist based on her resurfaced tweets. He's kissing her passionately in bed, but then immediately talking to the boys the next morning about how he's thinking of Kaida.
It's the classic toxic have your cake and eat it too mentality, rooted in the Madonna horror complex. He categorizes Kaida as the pure, untouchable girl he respects, and Alana as the disposable Casa Amor girl he can use for physical gratification. He wants the physical thrill of Casa Amor without carrying any of the emotional guilt, so he constantly verbalizes his attachment to Kaida to absolve himself of his own bad behavior. He thinks saying her name out loud works like a magical shield against infidelity.
It doesn't work like that.
And meanwhile, the true tragedy is that Kaida is over in the main villa, sleeping outside on the daybeds, refusing to even kiss Che in a game out of deep respect for Zach.
I am so mad at Kaida for holding back. Che is gorgeous. He is exactly her type. Though I have to admit, his eyes are a little intense. They are borderline distracting.
He has what I call the White Walker color-changing eyes. They literally shift from piercing ice glue to deep green depending on the ambient lighting in the villa. It's striking, almost predatory. But the real flex, the thing that immediately raised my analytical hackles, is Che calmly claiming that he doesn't have social media.
Wait, why is that bad?
In 2026, a highly attractive man in his mid-20s claiming he has absolutely no digital footprint is either a devout, off-the-grid monk, a pathological liar, or he is hiding a secret family in another state. Kaida thinks his lack of Instagram is a massive green flag. I think it requires a federal background check.
Okay, we have vented, we have recapped the trauma, and now it is formally time to hand out the Snark Side hardware. We are moving into our segments. Segment 1, the Villa Red Flag Awards. We are giving out 4 prestigious awards tonight to the Islanders displaying the most concerning behavior.
It is an honor just to be nominated. Let's start with the most prestigious award of the evening, biggest red flag.
My choice is undeniably Casey. Wearing penny loafers with high waters is a massive fashion red flag that suggests terrible judgment, but that's just the surface. Watching Family Guy during intimacy, proudly declaring he is very vanilla as if it's a personality trait, and holding a 4-week simmering grudge just to destroy a woman's confidence in front of a national audience, it is a towering, neon, 50-foot red flag. He is a walking hazard sign.
A very strong, well-argued case. But my choice for biggest red flag has to be Sincere. The fake deep poetry, the weaponized use of a leather-bound journal to look sensitive, the intentional mispronouncing of advanced vocabulary just to sound intellectually superior and disorient Amora. Casey is driven by a bruised, childish ego. Sincere is executing cold, calculated, narcissistic manipulation. It is much more insidious because it looks like love.
Okay, that is a very fair point. Sincere is terrifying. Next award. Sneakiest behavior. This is for the subtle under-the-radar villainy.
This is a tight race. Is it Corbin for orchestrating the fake performative surprise meeting with Parmita when they clearly pre-planned this entire storyline in the DMs? The premeditation is incredibly sneaky.
Or is it Corey for perfectly, flawlessly executing the dirty Mac on Melanie? Honestly, I have to give it to Corey because it was so smooth. He didn't yell. He didn't cause drama. He just quietly came in, planted the seeds of doubt about Sincere's character, elevated Melanie's ego by calling her a powerful, dominant woman, and slid right into her bed while validating her feelings. That is sneaky in the best, most highly entertaining reality TV way possible.
I'll concede and give it to Corey. It was tactical brilliance worthy of a military campaign. Now, most questionable decision. I think this one doesn't even require debate. It is completely unanimous.
Unanimous. Kenzie doing sudden mid-air gymnastics and landing in a violent split on Dylan's groin during the nibble round of a PG-13 kissing challenge.
It defied physics, it defied medical logic, and it aggressively defied the prompt on the card. It was a desperate cry for screen time, masquerading as a seductive act. It was questionable on every conceivable level.
And finally, the last award for this segment. most likely to break someone's heart. Who is going to cause the most emotional devastation?
I am going with Casey breaking Anaya's heart. He's going to bring Tiara back to the main villa. Or worse, he will walk in single but immediately start playing them against each other, purely for the sick ego trip of having two beautiful women fight over him on television. He fundamentally doesn't care about either of their hearts. He only cares about his own public vindication.
Oh, that's stark but probably true. But I think Sincere is going to break Melanie's heart into a million pieces. She is trying so hard right now to be strong, to act like she doesn't care if he moves on, but we know she is terrified of being played. Sincere is going to waltz back into that villa, whether he brings Amora or not, and his inevitable lies and gaslighting are going to completely shatter whatever fragile trust Melanie has left in men.
The emotional fallout from Casa Amor is going to be spectacular. Which brings us perfectly to segment 2, Delulu or in love. We have judged their bad behavior. Now we must clinically judge their mental states. Are they genuinely falling for each other? Are they playing a strategic game for the cameras? Or are they entirely delusional? Let's start with Amora.
Amora is straight up, unequivocally Delulu. Babes, she saw a moth, a literal insect drawn to a light bulb at midnight, and called it a divine message from God telling her to give her heart to a man who says, epitome. She is not in love. She is deeply, deeply delusional. She wants a fairy tale so badly she is hallucinating one.
I'm going to challenge that read entirely. I think Amora is playing a highly calculated game. Think about her position. She is a Casa Amor bombshell. Her entire job description, her only way to stay on the show and gain followers, is to get a ticket into the main villa. She knows Sincere is an easy, weak target because he desperately wants his ego stroked by a new woman. The moth from God comment. It's performative romance. She is saying exactly what he needs to hear to lock him down. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's a strategic mastermind.
You think she's a mastermind? I don't know. She looked pretty genuinely starry-eyed to me. I think she's just naive. Okay, what about Trinity?
Well, you go first on Trinity.
Trinity is in love. Her tears over Bryce are so visceral, so gut-wrenching and real. You can't fake that kind of panic. She is terrified of losing him to a Casa girl. That isn't game playing. That is raw, terrifying vulnerability. She has caught real feelings.
I have to say, Delulu, I'm sorry, but she is shedding actual hyperventilating tears over a man who aggressively sucks toes for sport and stands silently on balconies, offering absolutely nothing to the conversation. She is projecting an emotional depth onto him that we have seen absolutely zero evidence of. She is stressing herself into a literal stress ulcer over a hypothetical betrayal that she has entirely fabricated in her own mind. It is self-inflicted delusion.
You are so heartless. She just loves him. Okay, Islander 3. Casey, are we debating this one?
Well, on this, we can find absolute unifying agreement. Completely, irrevocably delusional.
Beyond delusional. He genuinely thinks his stock is going up. He thinks he is the grand prize, the alpha male of the season, strutting around the villa in his terrible socks, believing he has the upper hand in every dynamic, when in reality, the entire internet is making compilation videos laughing at him.
Delusion is a powerful anesthetic against the harshness of reality, which ties beautifully into segment 3. Dating app versus villa. Let's bring this all the way back to our own miserable dating lives. If these islanders were suddenly thrust onto our Hinge or Bumble feeds, what archetypes would they fulfill? Let's start with the worst offense. Who is the guy most likely to ghost someone after a seemingly perfect date?
Oh, that's easy. Sincere.
Oh, Sincere. Without a shadow of a doubt, Sincere is the ultimate ghoster. Sincere is the guy who matches with you, immediately sends you a 3-minute voice note reading a poem he claims he wrote just for you. But you later find out he actually stole from an aesthetic Instagram quote page, promises you the world, makes elaborate plans for a weekend getaway to Napa Valley, looks you in the eyes and says, "I've never felt this way before," and then entirely unmatches you at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday without a single word of explanation.
100%. He would tell you that you're the only woman who has ever truly understood his complex emotional depth, and then he would vanish into the digital ether forever, leaving you wondering if he was ever even real. Okay. Who would send a weird, overly specific, slightly off-putting opening message?
Corbin.
Yes. Corbin would match with you, and his very first message would be, "Hey, do you happen to work out at the Equinox in Miami?" Even though his profile location clearly states that he lives in Austin, Texas. He would try to force this fake, serendipitous, small world connection that makes absolutely zero logical sense, just to see if you bite.
And who is the guy posting the aggressive, terrifying gym selfies?
Zach.
Zach's profile is a sociological nightmare. It consists of exactly 5 identical, unsmiling mirror selfies taken in the harsh fluorescent lighting of a gym locker room. You can see the urinals in the background. And his entire bio doesn't say anything about his personality. It's just him complaining about how bad the lighting is in his apartment and that he's fluent in sarcasm. Zero actual personality. Just pure, unadulterated, protein powder-fueled vanity.
Yes. The urinal background selfie is a pandemic on these apps. And lastly, who would claim they're looking for something serious while clearly not being serious at all?
Casey.
Casey's profile would have a prompt that says, looking for my queen, or tired of the games, ready to finally settle down and build an empire. He portrays himself as the ultimate nice guy, but the minute you don't double text him within 5 minutes to validate his ego, or the minute you challenge him on anything, he throws a tantrum and unmatches you. He wants the aesthetic and the social praise of being in a serious relationship without having to do any of the actual emotional heavy lifting or compromise.
Spot on analysis. Now, for the ultimate reality TV trial, segment 4, Snog, Marry, Block. We have to make the hard choices. You're up first. Walk us through your deeply personal, highly scrutinized choices.
Okay, I have thought long and hard about this. I am taking this very seriously. Snog. Che. He is undeniably handsome. Those color-changing White Walker eyes are completely mesmerizing in a terrifying way. And the no social media thing. It means no weird Instagram stalking afterward. It means he can't suddenly watch my stories 2 years from now. It's a clean, zero digital footprint Snog. Marry. Caleb.
The elevator engineer. You're marrying the elevator engineer.
Yes, I am marrying the elevator engineer. Think about it logically. He is steady. He has a solid, union-backed career. He is infinitely patient. He keeps getting his girls stolen by louder, obnoxious, performative men, which means he isn't playing the game. It means he just needs a good, strong woman to appreciate his quiet consistency. He's actual husband material in a villa full of boys. And block. Sincere. I will not deal with a man who mispronounces vocabulary words just to sound intellectually superior. It is deeply offensive. Blocked immediately, deleted from my phone, and reported to the app developers for spam.
Those are actually very logical, emotionally sound choices. I am surprised. For me, however, I am leaning into chaos. Snog. Ronnie.
The dead tooth. You are going to snog the dead tooth.
I will look past the dead tooth. I will simply mandate that we keep the lights completely dim, the 90s fine. Jalen Hurts vibe is undeniably potent. It is a purely aesthetic, primal choice, and I make no apologies for it. Marry. Bryce. Listen to me. He is loyal to an absolute fault. He is currently standing alone on a balcony, refusing to speak to other beautiful women. Yes, he's a bit boring, and yes, the aggressive toe-sucking and challenges is a major hurdle we would need to actively unpack in intense couples therapy, but at the end of the day, you always know exactly where he is at night. He is safe. And block. Casey.
Unanimous on blocking the walking red flags.
The Family Guy sex confession is a blockable offense in all 50 states. It is irredeemable behavior. It signals a complete lack of emotional maturity. I would actively cross the street to avoid making eye contact with that man.
We are in total, absolute agreement there. Well, babes, that brings us to the end of tonight's chaos. We have spiralized, we have judged, and we've survived another episode. But before we sign off, I have to ask you, the Snark Squad, directly, which couple are you actually rooting for to make it to the finale? Who do you think is the absolute biggest, most dangerous red flag in the villa right now? And please, make me feel better about my own life. Tell us, what is the absolute worst dating app experience you've ever had? Are you out here looking for love? Are you looking for money? Or are you hoping to manifest both?
Let us know your thoughts. And as always, remember to subscribe to the feed, leave us a 5-star review because anything less is just bad vibes. And please share the podcast with a fellow reality TV loving babe because let's be honest, making terrible decisions is a lifestyle and we are out here living it fully together.
Stay chaotic.
And we'll see you on the Snark side.